Well, intense times, unprecedented, but we're all persevering.
Yeah. So on that note, obviously there was a big announcement yesterday. I was wondering if you could kind of explain that for people who haven't heard the news yet, what exactly you guys announced for PFL.
Sure. Um, we announced that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we've rescheduled our 2020 season to 2021 on ESPN. So number one, which will start spring of 21.
Okay.
Number two, we announced for 2020, we will be creating new original programming for ESPN across their platforms, for giving fans access to PFL fighters, stories, past fights with the press context. We'll be producing 4 original documentary series, as well as archival content, and that will maintain visibility for the brand, keep it relevant, but provide sports content to fans who we do know want sports. And if it can't be competition, great stories have to suffice for now.
Right.
And finally, well, the last point, because Tyler had us announce a lot of things.
Right.
It's game time here. The last point for 2020, although we are rescheduling our 2020 season, we have fighters across 6 weight classes. We are retaining the significant majority of those fighters and providing certainty in a world of uncertainty, and the fact that they'll be continue to fight for the PFL on our rescheduled season. But we'll also support fighters through these difficult times for the back half of this year with a monthly cash stipend to help the fighters and their families once again get through a very, very challenging time.
Yeah, and I think that last point is one that the fans have really appreciated, and I'm sure the fighters really appreciate it, and I think other promotions will hopefully take note and follow your lead on that. I have a couple questions about that stipend. One of them first, to backtrack a little bit. I know you mentioned that you're keeping the significant majority of athletes. I'm wondering if you can kind of give me some even ballpark figures of how many fighters you're still keeping on contract and how many were released.
Yeah, what I can say, I mean, we're keeping the significant majority, over 2/3, and we haven't announced those fighters, so we're not at liberty to share all those details.
Right.
But the coronavirus impact on businesses in all industries, including sports, and we've had to make some difficult decisions in a very, very challenging time.
Right.
I am confident that we will persevere through this window of time, and we'll absolutely come out stronger. Our product is built for TV. That will be the new normal when competition is approved by the federal and I guess state governments. So made for TV will be a focus. But our product is unique. We cover the action inside the cage. We bring fans into that cage and action with our coverage, unlike a big football field, a massive arena. We don't have to show empty seats. We can cover it a lot differently. So when it comes back into action, it will look differently. So once again, we're well positioned. And although we did push the season, Amy, to next year, working with ESPN, we will absolutely remain opportunistic in the last part of this year to stage special events. We're a fight organization. We want to be fighting. But we'll only do that provided we feel it's safe for the fighter, safe for the crew, safe for fans, should they be permitted. So we still need to evaluate things, but we need to prepare.
Right. And this monthly stipend, like I said, a lot of fans are really appreciative of this. That, they all of us worry about the fighters. I think everybody in every aspect of this industry worry about the fighters. And we're curious if this stipend is something that's sort of like an advance where it's going to be, okay. So it's on top of...
It's an absolute bonus, if you will.
Okay.
It's not... This stipend is not going to be reallocated from their future show and win dollars and their other commitments from the PFL tied to the season that we rescheduled. It's something that we can do on some level to help them through this time.
That's great.
And we're a family at the PFL. The front office, our team, our relationship with the fighters. We're from 25 countries around the world. And we're all trying to get through this together. It's as simple as that. And we're trying to be practical, trying to be smart, and we're thoughtful. And we're planning for the future.
Now, just last night, a UFC fighter announced that he had tested positive for COVID-19, and I'm curious if there's any news of any PFL athletes or personnel that have tested positive, or if everybody's healthy at this point.
Not to my knowledge,
okay.
Amy. I don't have any knowledge of any of our fighters who may have contracted the virus.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, at least, that there's no known cases.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure if that were the case, we would have found out.
Right.
Ray Suffo, our president of fighter operations, our fighter operations team, they're in close contact with fighters and the managers as we were preparing for the season and then throughout this overall process. So I'm sure I would have heard, but hopefully they all get out unscathed.
Right. And, you mentioned wanting to continue to put on events when it's safe and, and you're going to take the lead from the state and the federal government. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on the UFC and WWE continuing on. I'm wondering if that was something that you guys considered at one point.
Well, first and foremost, we're focused on our business. That's my charge, where we're not concerned with what other companies are doing in this sport or other sports. We're obviously monitoring things. And what I will say is we all want sports back.
Right.
Fans want sports back. When live competition comes back, it'll be a sign that we are getting back to normal. And once again, it'll be a new normal and how it's staged. And then when fans are permitted, then there'll be new precautions for both fans, athletes, staff, to ensure safety. But what I will say, we've made this decision out of, one, the health and safety for our fighters and fans and event staff. And it's important to know our fighters come from 25 countries from around the world. All those logistics and things to think about. So, safety went into our decision at this time. That was number one. And because of dealing with 25 countries, athletes and their trainers and their corner people tied to it, we just felt it was there was too much risk.
Right.
So that's number one. And number two, as you know, our season format, which we have tremendous amount of momentum after two years executing this format for the first time with a regular season and a playoff and a championship. Unique to MMA. We're the only ones that have done it, and we've done it with distinction and have a lot of success and momentum. I mean, just last year, we increased our ratings by 50%. Our championship was up 100% in the U.S. on linear, 400,000 people. And that was just a few months back, on New Year's Eve.
Right.
And so this was a tough decision because, we're on a long-term mission and we'll continue that. And this will be a road bump, but it's a road bump for everyone. And but what it takes to execute our season takes 6 months. Fighters who get through the postseason and to the championship actually have to fight 5 times.
Right.
And with other MMA organizations, fighters fight an average of 2 times. 3 times is a lot.
Right.
And so for us, it was very important a company to focus on maintaining the integrity of this sport format. And we looked at truncated versions and other things, but we just felt that it wasn't in keeping with our mission or our brand. And then combined with the safety factor, that's how we guided our decision making. But on your opportunistic point, we're not there yet. We're not focusing on any planning for the latter part of the year at this time. We're going to wait till we see what the landscape looks like. But as entrepreneurs and as a fight organization and as a sports organization, of course we want to bring back competition to the fans and provide our fighters with those opportunities. But that's not in our current game plan. But we will remain opportunistic, and when it's at the relevant time, we'll share those potential opportunities or options.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I've got everything I need, and again, I appreciate it. You're taking your time and speaking to us today.
No, you bet, Amy. Stay safe. We appreciate it, and let's get back to normal soon.